My name is Angel and welcome back to my little corner of the internet. Hello beautiful people and welcome back. Today's video is about a drama called Oh My Ghost. The Korean version came out in 2015, but this drama has been done in several different languages. I think the Thai one is the one that literally came out 2 years ago. I'm pretty sure it's been done in Chinese as well. It might be in Japanese, but none of that matters. The one we're talking about is the 2015 Korean release. So, y'all know how this goes. Y'all been around the block once or twice by now. If this is your first video, well, we start with a breakdown of the characters. Our main character is a girl named Bong Soon, who I will probably refer to as main character or MC for short, because I will forget, and this helps me not jumble up character names if I don't have to remember too many of them. She is a very shy, timid girl who is trying to become a chef, and she can cook really well, but she's just kind of like young and inexperienced right now, so she's working as an assistant in a restaurant. Her love interest is Sun Woo. He is her boss. He owns the restaurant where she works, and it's not like a chain restaurant, it's a singular restaurant. Our other main character is Sunnae. She is our ghost. I will probably call her Ghost for majority of the show. So those are our main characters. Secondary characters, we have all of the chefs that work at Sun Woo's restaurant. We have Minsu, his name is Minsu. He is the sous chef at the restaurant, which, in case you didn't know, is second in command. Kind of a prick because he's the sous chef and he thinks he like runs everything. He's kind of annoying, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't really like him that much. There are two other chefs whose names I really don't remember, I'm not gonna lie. I even looked up the names of them and I've already forgotten them. But it's okay, they're just going to be known as chefs 2 and 3 at the restaurant. Chef 2, chef 3. And then finally we have my favorite chef at the restaurant. His name is June. I love him. He's like not super important to the plot, but he's so amazing. Like, he's not just like an amazing chef, because apparently he's like super duper good and he like studied abroad or whatever in France or something. So there are many times where Minsu's like, oh, you think you're all that just because of yada yada yada. He's again a prick. But June is like the only person who works here that isn't completely moronic or like a douchebag. I love him. That's all you need to know. He's amazing. He like doesn't put up with anyone's BS at this restaurant. He's like tired of everyone all the time, and I think I love him because I relate to him. Like, that's me. I feel that on an emotional level. Our other important characters include Jung-soo, who I'm gonna refer to as Officer. He's married to Sun Woo's sister. I guess by default that means Sun Woo's sister is also important. I mean, she works at the restaurant. She's the hostess. She's disabled. There's a shaman. She comes up a lot. We're just gonna call her Shaman. Side note, this woman has been in so many dramas that I have watched. Like, in another video, I'm gonna talk about another drama that she is also in. There's a couple other dramas that I have seen that she's in. There's like some movies I've watched in my classes that she's in. Bruh, she's everywhere. I'm pretty sure she's in Parasite, if I remember correctly. Also, I'm filming this the Monday after the Oscars, so shout out to Parasite for taking home 4 of those awards from the colonizers. Anywhoosies, with all of our characters out of the way, we're gonna move right on to the plot of the story. So the story begins introducing all of our characters like in their life in very different situations. Bong Soon is living in a shoebox of an apartment and being hackled by her landlord because she burns incense in her apartment, and because it's a shoebox there aren't any windows and that's not safe, and so he like nags her about it sometimes, and she has incense because she can see ghosts courtesy of her shaman grandmother. Meanwhile, somewhere else in town, Sunnae is being chased down by the shaman, like our shaman, because this shaman reports to like the spirit world or whatever, and Sunnae is kind of like a rogue spirit. Like, she died a little while ago, which I'll explain in a minute, but she died a little while ago, and so usually when you die you like pass on, but she ain't did that yet, and so the spirit world is like haggling the shaman to return her to the spirit world, and she doesn't want to go because Sune's big thing is that she died a virgin, and usually if you die and turn into a ghost, it's because you have like some grievances with the world, basically. You know how that goes. So she figures her grudge with the world is that she died a virgin. I don't know why, but that's what she assumes her grievance is. And so she attempts to like sleep with some guys. They all like get super sick before anything like really happens. And apparently it's because Sune has a very strong negative energy about her. And she needs to sleep with a man who has equally as strong positive energy. Then we meet Sunwoo, who we meet because his mom had visited said shaman and like warned her that he had a lot of positive energy and spirits will be coming after him. The positive energy that Sune is looking for is in Sunwoo, so that's fun. Anyway, while Sune is running from the shaman, and so she hops into the nearest body she sees, and it happens to be Bongsoon's. And the shaman had literally just warned her that she can't keep hopping into bodies because she might get trapped in one. So do you know what happens? She gets trapped in Bongsoon. And we don't know that till the next morning though, because she like spends the night wandering around in a body that doesn't belong to her. Sune and Bongsoon's body is wandering the streets, and the next morning Bongsoon doesn't come to work, obviously, because Sune's in her body and doesn't know anything about this woman, so like doesn't know that she got somewhere to be. And June, I believe, my fave, my baby, pulls up on like a motor, like on one of them little scooter joints, and grabs her by the arm and says, well, you ain't come to work on time, so let's go. She has no clue what's going on, but she gets on the bike because he's not really giving her another option. They go back to work, and she tries to hop out the body, and she's like, wait, I don't want to be part of this, so like yeet, and she can't get out. And then she passes out from overexertion or something. I'm not really sure, but they pass out. Her coworkers, and I guess technically her boss, lay her out across the tables in the restaurant, and she wakes up at like eye level with all of their like waistline. And because, again, Miss Sune thinks her grievance with the world is dying a virgin, so she immediately, like, loses it because every guy she meets is just a potential attack. And because Sune's trapped, she, like, kind of has to pretend to be Bongsoon, but she's not good at it because she and Bongsoon are polar opposites. Bongsoon is this really timid girl who never says anything to anyone and does exactly what she's told as soon as she's told to do it, and cries the moment someone raises their voice at her. She's also really clumsy. And Sune is like her polar opposite. She don't take nothing from nobody. She do what she want when she want, and you ain't gonna make her do anything she don't want to do. And she's on a mission too. Like, for a while it's just everyone trying to figure out what the hell is going on because she's like lusting over her coworkers and like not doing her job at first. Her boss yells at her and she isn't having it. And eventually, like, the guys start to enjoy her company more, like that she's like brazen and outspoken and like bold or whatever, which is fine, I guess. Jude is the only one who seemed to care about Bongsoon, like as Bongsoon. He's really nice. So for a while, it's just Sune pretending to be Bongsoon. She gets kicked out of her apartment like the day she takes over Bongsoon's body or something like that. Really early on, she gets kicked out of her own apartment, and because the only other location she knows in Bongsoon's like existence is her place of work, she starts sleeping in the restaurant, gets caught one night, and starts staying in a room above the restaurant because that's where Sunwoo lives. He lives above his restaurant. And then Sunwoo is invited to a cooking show by his close friend who's like a television producer. She's cool, but also desperately in love with him, so do with that information what you wish. So she invites Sunwoo to be on a cooking show, and he asks Bongsoon to be his sous chef on the cooking show. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, she's pretending to be Bongsoon. She even runs into her like father and starts like kikiing with him as Bongsoon and is like being friendly and like hanging out with them, and like sometimes her Sune comes out and she like scolds her brother as though that's her actual brother, and she eventually like manages to get out of Bongsoon's body as Bongsoon is like supposed to go on this show. Bongsoon is like now terrified because anxiety, we love. Woo! So Sune goes to see her dad like as a ghost, and her dad is like passed out on the floor, but she's a ghost, so she can't like pick anything up and assist here. And she runs back to the studio where they're filming and asks Bong-soon to call 911, or the equivalent of 911, basically call an ambulance. Initially, Bong-soon is like, no, I can't hear you, I can't see you, la 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 la. Sune is like, I mean, you can assist or I'll take your body back by force. And she does take her body back by force, by the way. And so Sune and Bong-soon's body once again calls an ambulance. Bring, bring, hey, there's a man who's like passed out, yada, yada, yada. She goes to visit him after shooting or whatever. And then she like scolds her younger brother for like being a no good loser, basically. Because he spends all his time like playing video games and like not helping his dad out. Because Sune's family owned a restaurant, but Sune did most of the cooking and now she's dead. So the restaurant is like not doing too great. They have a few customers who still come by, but like they're not doing too hot, and the younger brother doesn't do anything. He just spends money all the time and like plays video games. So she scolds her brother for like being a useless POS around the house. Then she goes back to pretending to be the main character because like she's stuck in there again. She can't just hop in and out whenever she wants like she does with other people. Now her boss is exhibiting concerns because in the middle of filming she was like, and then all of a sudden she was like back to normal as they have gotten used to her. So he takes her to a doctor who diagnoses her with bipolar depression. So that's how Sunwoo copes with everything that's going on. Eventually, Sune finds out that Sunwoo is the positive force that she needs to like counteract her negative energy, and then Sune and Bong-soon create an alliance because Sune explains to Bong-soon what's going on and like her situation, and Sune finds out that Bong-soon has had the massivest crush on Sunwoo for like eternity, and Sune is like, well, if you let me use your body to seduce him, then he's yours. Here's the thing, there's a como se dice, time limit on how long a ghost can be like a normal ghost, because in the lore of this show, if a ghost stays around past 3 years, they are subject to become an evil spirit, and these are like malicious spirits that like I guess are like poltergeists that like harm people and make them do bad things. And Sune's time is approaching. That's part of the reason why Bong-soon agrees to help her, because she feels bad, and while this ghost is clearly morally gray, she doesn't think she should turn into an evil spirit. So the two of them decide to work together. And from here on out, Sune has like a much greater control on her possession of Bong-soon. Like she can jump in and out of her body now. Sune will typically go to work for Bong-soon and like just live her life for her, and then at the end of the day will like kiki with her and catch her up. Hey, so this is what happened. There is a company retreat that happens. They like rent a house and there's this cooking competition happening. It's Minsu versus June. I don't know what the motivation for this was, but Sune and Bong-soon's body starts cheering for June like heavy when the judging time comes. Like everyone tries the food and I'm pretty sure everyone thinks that June's is better, and in a fit of jealousy Sunwoo instead picks Minso's dish, and everyone's like, I mean, I guess June is a pretty good sport about it. Sunwoo's friend, who's like madly in love with him, crashes their company retreat, and like the other guys all think she's like this really hot businesswoman, so they're happy to have her join, but Sune Bong-soo is not happy. So at night, Sune tries to sneak into Sunwoo's room. Sunwoo tells her to go back to her room, and then he tries to take her back to her room when she refuses to listen, and the two of them overhear the couple that owns the house that they're like renting for the weekend outside like yelling. They walk out and they're like, what's going on? Is everything okay? And they're like, we can't find our child. So Bong-soon / Sune and Sunwoo offer to help, and the two of them are looking while the parents are looking off somewhere else, and then Sunwoo splits up with the main character and they go in two different directions, and the main character finds the little girl, who can tell she's possessed, by the way. I don't know why she has the ability to do that, but she can tell. She knew from the moment she walked in, and she was like, why is there a girl inside of that girl? And her parents were like, don't mind her, she does that sometimes. Sune finds the little girl, and the little girl like runs off into the woods or whatever, and Sune tries to follow her, and she like runs into one of the storage units, and Sune follows her inside the storage unit, and the little girl slips out when she's not paying attention to the door and locks her in there. Earlier in the day, Sunwoo and her go to like buy more alcohol, and she bought like one of those little mini firecrackers. She also happened to have a lighter for whatever reason. She dropped the firecracker outside of the storage locker before she went in, like not intentionally, she just tripped over something and it fell out of her pocket. So now Bong-soon is freezing to death in this lock-in freezer, and eventually the child turns up, and so Sunwoo's like, okay, well, where is Bong-soon? The other guys are awake now because he like asked them to help him look for her. And I think at some point one of them like whines about wanting to go to bed and how like annoyed they are by the fact that she has like disrupted his sleep, and he like goes off about how like, you know, we're a team and we're supposed to look out for each other and yada yada yada. And you know he's just mad because he like loves this girl. Sune hops out of Bong-soon's body and is like, okay, stay here, try not to freeze to death, I'm gonna go try and get help. She sees like the little firecracker and the lighter. She has the ability to manifest herself just enough to like light the firecracker, and it goes off, and because she bought it with Sunwoo, he immediately knows that it's her and like runs in the direction, and he gets there, he opens the door, because as I understand it, it technically wasn't locked. She just put the lock in place. And I think at some point someone asks if the firecracker was outside and she was locked in the storage locker, how does she light it? But nobody else worries about it. It's like it's briefly mentioned as like a plot hole and they just kind of let it go. At some point the best friend like confesses that she is in love with him while drunk, and he like takes care of her for the night, but ultimately dismisses her because he's not into her that way. Following the retreat, Sunwoo decides to develop a relationship with her, but he sets very clear boundaries about not wanting to sleep with her initially. Their first date is really cute, it's really sweet, they go and get food. The plot develops really slowly in the show, I'm not gonna lie to you. There's a lot of like weird little minuscule problems because she's possessed by a ghost who's her polar opposite. But the real plot of this show is, remember the officer that I mentioned at the beginning who I said was like a character you needed to remember? Yeah, he's a big part of the plot, or like a bigger part of the plot than you would think based on the first like 10 episodes of the show. Sune knew the officer when she was alive. The two of them were friends, they were buddies, kikiing together or whatever. There is a couple moments where Bong-soon, like Sune, starts to look into her own death because she finds out that she committed suicide and is very confused because she doesn't believe that she committed suicide. And when she asks the officer to like look into that, like as Bong-soon, A, he starts to get suspicious, and B, he starts to get worried. His wife is disabled because she was in a hit and run accident. She got hit by a car that hit her, drove over her, and then backed up. Oh, like it destroyed her legs, bruh. And now she's married to a police officer whose coworker tries to find out what actually happened because there's no record of anything. Like there aren't any like street cameras, no security cameras from shops. There's like no trace of who hit her. Officer Choi, that's the one that matters. He kills his partner because his partner starts finding out a little bit too much about the accident involving his wife. So he gets into a car with him, kills him, and then drives the car off a cliff. Prior to that, he hit that same officer in the head with the miscellaneous blunt object and sent him to the hospital because the officer had gotten some footage restored from a security camera outside the spot of the hit and run. In case you haven't figured it out, he's responsible for his wife's accident. Not intentionally. I mean, yes, intentionally, but not really. So, the situation that night, let me just spoil everything real quick, okay? Because we find all of this out, like, very quickly. Officer Choi was distracted because of God knows what, and he was driving and he hit a woman, and he got out of the car and he started freaking the hell out, and then an evil spirit possessed him. He got back in his car, ran over her again. Sune had been like around the corner or like walking somewhere and saw this happen, and she memorized the license plate number, which was written in the back of her diary. This is how everything like comes to light. She has a license plate number written on the back of her diary. She saw the accident. As opposed to like calling actual 911 for whoever was like on duty, she dialed Officer Choi because they were friends and told him, hey, I just witnessed a hit and run and I don't know what to do. And they met up at her family's restaurant, and she sees the license plate on the car he's driving, which is the license plate number that she has memorized because that's the car that ran over the lady. lady. And she like makes up some excuse about having to pick her dad up from somewhere and like darts out of the restaurant. And he's like, oh, well, guess I gotta take care of that. Some loose ends, can't have those. He chases her down in an alleyway, knocks her out, drives her to his apartment, and drowns her in his bathtub, and then dumps her body in the river. So this story very much goes from this lustful ghost who's trying to like solve her virginity problems to a murder mystery. And then we have an issue because, well, what do we do? This officer who's married to the main character's boyfriend's sister is actually evil, has been covering up several things for like 3 years now at least. How did he end up marrying the woman that he ran over with a car? I still don't know that. They don't explain that. At some point during this like chaotic explosion of information where they're trying to figure out what happened to Sune, Bong-soon comes clean to Sun-woo about how, well, I was possessed by a ghost and I'm not manic depressive. I just had a ghost inside of my body who was like my exact opposite. He like has some trouble processing it, which is valid. He doesn't know if any of the moments he had with his now girlfriend were real, but then he has to put that aside because everyone's like, so your brother-in-law may or may not be responsible for the death of this ghost who has been involved in the development of this relationship that we got right now. And then the main character gets kidnapped. Officer Choi kidnaps her and takes her to an orphanage where he grew up. The car that he used to run over his now wife, he donated it to the orphanage. And eventually Sun-woo finds the orphanage. It takes him a while and the police are being relatively uncooperative because he's like, yeah, my girlfriend's missing. And the officers are like, well, you don't have any like substantial evidence for us to go and like pull a warrant on every kindergarten, orphanage, and daycare center within like a 50-mile radius. So he like goes and investigates on his own. He calls the cops to tell him where he's going. Sun-woo and the officers show up at the orphanage and Officer Choi snatches Bong-soon and escapes down a back road and tries to get away. Sun-woo notices and he's like, oh no, you're not going anywhere. Follows him down the highway with the shaman, and Bong-soon is like in his back seat, and Officer Choi, like a dumbass, keeps a knife in his back seat. I don't know why it was there, but he has like a pocket knife in his back seat, and she manages to get to the pocket knife and jams it into his leg, nearly running him off the road. He has to stop for a hot second. It's long enough for Sun-woo to get up to the car and like pull her out of it, and then he like drives off, and the shaman is like, oh no you don't, you're not going anywhere. Follows after him while Sun-woo is comforting her in the middle of the street because she's like sobbing her eyes out. Officer Choi eventually ditches his car and like hobbles through this like field into this abandoned building. The shaman is still following him, and Sunhae is there as well, like as a ghost. The two of them follow him into this abandoned building up onto the roof. The shaman manages to get the evil spirit out of him, but only long enough to confirm that he is in fact possessed by an evil spirit. And then he's like collapsed on the floor, really confused as to what's going on. And then like all of the last 3 years of his life start rushing back to him, and he's like, oh my god, what happened? And he's like crying and really confused because he's like seeing flashes of him killing people and like running over somebody, and it's like really intense. And because he's like in a vulnerable state, just like when he got possessed in the first place, the evil spirit goes back into his body and then jumps off the roof that they're on. Don't worry, Officer Choi survives. I don't really know if that's something that you are concerned about, but he does in fact survive. It's unclear as to whether or not the evil spirit survives. I know the evil spirit isn't in Officer Choi anymore, so everyone's kind of confused. It's like in the hospital, and his wife, being the supportive woman that she is, still standing by his side. I don't know if she knows all of the details of what happened yet or not, but she's still standing by his side, but he doesn't know who she is. It's kind of sad. His hospital room is like guarded by officers, so I don't really know how they're approaching this situation. But turns out Sune's real grudge was the fact that she was in fact murdered and nobody knew. So now that she's like solved that, she says her goodbyes to everybody and then passes on. At some point earlier in the show, I'm sorry, I forgot this because it's not super important to like the main plot, but it has to do with the ending of the show, so I'm gonna bring it back real fast. Sun-woo signs the main character up for a cooking competition, competition, which she wins. He wasn't expecting her to win just because of her own nerves, really, but she competes well, and she wins first place. One of the prizes for first place is a year studying abroad at a culinary program. And he's initially like, you're not gonna do it, and then she decides to do it. So she leaves for a year. After Sune like dips, Bongsoon goes to her little program in Europe, and Sunwoo he's struggling, bruh. It's kind of cute, but like also kind of sad. He's struggling because she's like not super communicative while she's gone. Like, no, they didn't break up or anything like that, but like she wasn't texting him as often, and he would like whine and pout to himself about it all the time. Sune's brother asks Sunwoo to like help him learn how to be a functioning member of society, and so now Sunwoo has a second restaurant. Bongsoon returns. She visits the original restaurant first, and everyone's like, oh my god, you're back. They're all great, they're all wonderful, love them. And then she goes to the other restaurant, and Sunwoo is initially very upset. He's like, you didn't call me, you didn't text me, what are you doing here? Harump. And she's like, I knew if I like called you or talked to you too often, I would immediately want to come home, so I distanced myself. I'm sorry. And then two of them have their cute little reunion moment. He like spins her around and he's like, yeah, you're not leaving again, it's cute or whatever. So this has been Oh My Ghost in a nutshell. It's a very like simplistic plot to begin with, and then it turns into a murder mystery, and I'm like, wow, okay, that's cool, that's nice, that's fun, funky fresh. In like the last 3 episodes, now it's who done it. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. As per usual, it was all over the place. Like, comment, share, and yeah, hang on a second. Hi, at the end of all of my videos, I leave a question for you to drop an answer to down below in the comment section. This week's question is, what's your favorite genre? It's not drama specific. If you want to answer it in relation to specifically K-dramas, go for it. But you're welcome to just tell me your favorite genre of television in general. Answer down below in the comment section. Leave me another comment if you so please. Like, share this video, hit the subscribe button, and hit the little bell so you can get notifications for my next post and all of my chaotic posts. This is the end of this video, so bye-bye everyone!